I love this story. I love it because when I saw this, I laughed and I face palmed. Trump ends decade with a bang, nixing nearly 100 environmental regulations during his first 3 years in office. And I'm going, no, come on. Like even George W. Bush had he protected a bunch of natural parks, and he set aside a bunch of land for national parks to protect them and stuff like this. No, I'm not a fan of ending environmental regulations. However, as a rather moderate individual, I think this is what you get when you don't clean the system, okay? The problem with the left is that they'll keep imposing more and more regulations, more and more restrictions without assessing whether or not they worked. So I'm not gonna go through each and every single environmental regulation that Trump has nixed, though I tend to be against the removal of environmental protections. Trump is doing it for economic reasons, and the economy is booming. So I'll tell you this. On the left, you'll have people saying, we have to take a hit, okay? We've got to pay more taxes. We've got to pay more for gas. We've got to use gas less. It's going to hurt for all of us, but we have to do it to protect the environment. I somewhat agree with that, somewhat. On the right, they're saying climate change is, anthropological climate change. Human-caused climate change, put it that way, because I'm probably saying the wrong word. Human climate change is a myth. The climate is changing for a variety of reasons. Whatever the argument is, they're pulling back on regulations because it'll make the economy do better in a variety of sectors. And that's true, but at what cost, I ask? The problem with the left is that they're unwilling to compromise with those that are suffering, and you end up with riots in the streets like France. So clearly that isn't the solution. I don't like the idea that we're now seeing these environmental regulations taken out, but I want to make one very, very important point. You see, America is now the largest producer of fossil fuels. And everybody's blaming Donald Trump. He's getting rid of these environmental regulations, and Republicans are cheering for the removal for the most part, of regulations. Although there are a lot of Republicans who are conservationists. You live out in the wilderness, you live out by national parks. I get it. Do you know when America became the largest producer of fossil fuels? Was it during Trump? No. Was it during Obama? Yes. I love it. I love it. Look, man, I have no problem criticizing this. But I gotta admit, I don't know enough about all of the regulations that are being removed, hence why I'm typically the milquetoast fencer on a lot of these issues. But like I said, I lean towards I don't like that Trump is doing this. Let's read the story, and then we'll talk about fossil fuels. President Donald Trump nixed nearly 100 environmental regulations during his first 3 years in office, effectively rolling back much of his Democratic predecessor's environmental legacy. The president rolled back more than 90 environmental rules and regulations. The New York Times reported in December. Whoa, really? Just this past month? The New York Times relied on an analysis from Harvard Law School, Columbia Law School, and other sources to keep tabs on Trump's numbers during his time in office. Let me tell you something. It's a secret. Don't repeat it. I'm not going to vote for Trump. This is one of the reasons, okay? Now, look, foreign policy is pretty much the biggest reason, and that's why I like Tulsi Gabbard. We'll see what happens with what's going on with Iran and Baghdad. I think Trump had a good response, to what was happening. I mean, certainly better than Benghazi. He got Marines in there. The Ospreys came in. That was pretty cool. And he made sure people were safe, saved some lives. We saw the media was trying to spin it as like protesters and mourners when it was like militia supporters and Iran supporters. However, we shouldn't be there. We shouldn't be in Iraq. We shouldn't be Look, I get it, man. Whether or not we're there, it was our embassy. We have embassies everywhere, and everybody has embassies everywhere. So a lot of people are trying to make it out like we shouldn't be in Baghdad in the first place. Why is this happening? No, dude. That was our embassy. Like, we have embassies in countries. Even if we weren't, in having troops stationed in Iraq and Afghanistan, we'd still have an embassy there. But I do think we should not be there. I do not like it, and I want to see whoever. I don't care who the president is. Get him out. Bring him home. And that's actually one of the arguments. I think Trump is trying. I really do think so. Based on a lot of things I've read, I think Trump is between a rock and a hard place where he's trying to basically pull back all of this American imperialist, foreign intervention stuff, but he kind of can't because it's a web, man. We're tangled up. I don't necessarily trust Trump on this because he's come out straight up and said we're going to give a bunch of weapons and stuff to Saudi Arabia because they pay well. I'd like to see it happen, though. But anyway, I digress. The environmental stuff, here's the big challenge I face with this. It makes me question Donald Trump. Obviously, I've never been the biggest fan of the guy, and y'all know that. But here's the problem. Why aren't the Democrats coming out and telling us what's happening? Why isn't the media coming out and saying, like, Trump just did this, that, and this? And I understand some journalists will probably write about saying Trump just got rid of regulation, protecting certain birds or something like that. I get it. But where's the national conversation around it? It's the Democrats' fault. when they hold press conferences, they don't tell us what Trump is doing. They don't say Trump did X. They let him do it, and then they go, we're going to impeach him. We've been working on it for 2.5 years because we don't like the orange man. What? Dude, if you want to beat Trump, be like, did you know Trump repealed a regulation that prevented, this, that, and this? And then people will be like, wait, really? Like, he's going to allow companies to do what? Clearly, these regulations were put in place, and whether or not they were good or bad, the Democrats could at least try and spin it, right? No, they're not even talking about it. So listen, man, I'll make my position clear. I don't know enough about what regulations were removed. I do think it's important to clean house in government periodically, but I don't like the idea of pulling back environmental regulations on the surface. The problem is there has been no effort from the left to actually talk about what this is other than some ridiculous far-left ideological Green New Deal, which doesn't address anything Trump is doing, or the Orange Man ban narrative and impeach Trump scandal. Fine. If that's the game you're playing, I'll have no idea why this is good or bad. And I speak for the average voter when they're like, did Trump do good? Were the regulations from Obama bad? I honestly have no idea. They say, the NYT's list includes regulations that are officially reversed and rollbacks still in progress. Trump has fully eliminated 25 rules designed to rein in air pollution. Why is that a good thing? And emissions, as well as 19 that regulate energy producers' ability to drill and extract oil and gas. Trump uses a 1-2 punch, according to Caitlin McCoy, a fellow at Harvard Law School who tracks such measures. First, a delay rule to buy some time, and then a final substantive rule, McCoy told the New York Times. And I'll tell you what the problem is, man. If you watch my segment at 1 p.m., you'll know exactly what happens when I try engaging with the left on this one. And it's almost like they want Trump to do this and they want Trump to win. I tell you what I need, progressives. When I say something like, I don't know much about the environmental regulations Trump is pulling back, you say, let me break it down for you. And I'll go, oh, wow, that's really interesting. I didn't know Trump do that. Why would Trump pull back rules designed to rein in air pollution? We want clean air, right? Well, for me, it seems like Trump is trying to bolster the fossil fuel industry, the energy sector, and that can be very beneficial to America economically, but also strategically. More energy output means more growth, more expansion, a good economy. It's probably one of the contributing factors to our good economy. I can respect that. I am not, as much as I believe we have issues with climate change, I don't think the France method is the solution. You see what's going on over there? Been a year of rioting and protests and fighting in the streets. So we've got to figure something out. And perhaps humans are addicted. But as I've always said, the solution isn't just like, we're going to ban this. No, you can't be anti. You got to be for something. And I think we need to be for renewables. And I'll throw some criticism at Trump because he rags on wind energy. I know the media takes him out of context. And this is the other problem. Trump's talking about wind. And he says, I never get it, Have you seen the manufacturing process? Fumes. My God, the fumes everywhere. And then they try making it seem like Trump's arguing that fumes come out of wind turbines. And I'm like, dude, can you just criticize Trump for being opposed to wind energy without making some ridiculous nonsensical statement like the president thinks fumes come out of a wind turbine? I like the environment, man. I worked for nonprofits for the environment for a long time. I am trying to figure out a solution. The problem is the left is so far left and off the rails. They're not even talking about this. They just hate Trump. And so I'm sitting here saying dude, we need to talk to people. I used to do this. I'd go up to people and shake their hands and be like, let me just make a few points, right? We need trees. Trees, take in carbon dioxide, take that carbon out, turn it to mass, spit out that, well, it is mass, but they use it to grow their mass. They spit out that oxygen, and then we breathe that oxygen, it bonds to the carbon in our body. It's a cycle, man. Trees are great. Let's do something to help the trees, right? I work for some tree nonprofits, and it works. What do we get now? Greta Thunberg? How dare you? How dare you? And it's like, dude, that is appealing to no one, man. Like if I'm some dude sitting in my lounge chair, just got off work after a long day, got yelled at by my boss, I crack open a beer, maybe it's a nice local brewer, micro brew, crack that lid, and I'm sitting back and I'm like, finally, man, all my stress is going away. I get to sit back, have a beer. We got the game, okay, I TiVo'd it, or whatever it is they call it. I recorded it. And then all of a sudden a commercial comes on and it's or a news segment, and it's this young girl going, how dare you, stolen my childhood. And the dude's thinking I don't want to think about this, man. I don't want to be yelled at. I don't want to be insulted. I don't want to be berated. I don't want to be attacked for who I am or what I'm doing. I just want to relax. Work is not easy. Life can be stressful. People want to relax. And this is what we get. While Greta Thunberg is out there yelling about how we've stolen her childhood, Trump's rolling back regulations, okay? So if you really want to counter it, you have a calm, rational conversation. You say, Well, let me break down for you what Trump, rolled back on, and I'll tell you if it was good or bad, if it made sense or it doesn't. Instead, we get this scowling, the insults, and the socialist Green New Deal. That's what we get. That's what their counter to Trump is. You know what, man? Trump is what these people deserve. Because instead of coming out and being, like Tulsi Gabbard said, okay, I'm a fan of hers. She said in a video, we have to respect Trump supporters, otherwise we will keep losing. We have to understand how they voted for Obama twice and are now voting for Trump. They don't do it. They don't. They just yell at you. So whatever, man. I'm not a fan of rolling back environmental regulations, but the problem is it's just not in the national conversation. When I saw this, I was like, I didn't even know what happened. It's just not in the media, So, hey, I'll take responsibility for that. I should be doing this job. I should be looking this stuff up. I should be more actively tracking this stuff. But I do got to point out, the U.S. has held the top spot for the past 6 years, and this Investopedia report is from October. So that's Obama era, man. Okay, Obama helped the United States become one of the top oil-producing countries in the world. So if you got a problem with what Trump is doing, well, it goes back to Obama too. I get it. Obama did put in a lot of these regulations. Trump pulled them back. They're both big oil people, and it's the game being played, and we get it. I'll tell you what you can't do. Whether or not you like fossil fuels, you cannot campaign on taking away people's jobs. That's insane. I'll leave it there. Whatever, man. You guys comment below. Let me know what you think about the environmental regulation stuff, because I feel like you're going to find a lot of moderate liberal types going and voting for Trump simply because the left refuses to actually put up a real political fight. They're not talking about it. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next segment in just a few minutes. Thanks for hanging out.